I wonder, how do you go from Teacher of the Year to POS of the Year, like consecutively? Like, it's just wild to think that all of the stuff that we have going on with teachers, you trust teachers, you believe in them, you would hope they do the right thing. And when you have them take advantage of your babies, I just think it is inexcusable. No excuse for this. I think you throw the book at people like this. But before we get into the story, let me give you guys a disclaimer real quick. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. And we're getting this story from Fox5SanDiego.com. I think this is a big story. I would love to see this go viral. Let's see. A South Bay teacher. Let's talk about this. The former national city educator accused of sexually abusing students returned to court Tuesday afternoon for an arraignment on more serious charges. So this is not exactly a brand new story. This is kind of a continuation. So it's not brand new. This is a continuation, more or less an update. The woman that you see on my screen, Teacher of the Year, allegedly, Jacqueline Ma, M.A. Jacqueline Ma, latest appearance comes after evidence presented during the preliminary hearing of the 34-year-old led prosecutors to ask for charges stemming from alleged relationships with two former students that carry stiffer penalties. The judge hearing the case agreed. Jacqueline Ma was crying as she walked into the courtroom. Now, if you're having sex with kids, why would you be crying walking into the courtroom? Who would feel sorry for you? You think people feel sympathy for you, ma'am? No, we don't. I feel like you robbed the people of that title when somebody else behind you probably actually deserved to be Teacher of the Year when you were actually a piece of crap of the year. Ma, who was named San Diego County Teacher of the Year in 2023, was a teacher with the National School District teaching 5th and 6th grade at Lincoln Acres Elementary. She was arrested in March on suspicion of engaging in sexual relationships with two students, an 11-year-old and a 12-year-old. Let me say that again. An 11-year-old and a 12-year-old. And I want y'all to call it out in the chat. What does that make her if she had sex with kids under the age of 13 years old? If you guessed pedophile, that is the correct terminology. 11 and 12 years old. I remember when my daughter was 11 years old, and I, for the life of me, don't understand why it's so many teachers that are doing this and getting caught doing this. What is your attraction to children? I don't understand that. And I never will. I just think it needs to be punished, plain and simple. These kids were in her class at some point, and y'all are not going to believe how they actually was trying to get her off. And I think this is actually her lawyers was trying to getting her off. That doesn't sound right. Pause. Let me pause right there, okay? They were trying to lessen her charges. Let me say that. Prosecutors say that one of these relationships lasted months. The teacher, Ma, had already pled not guilty to all 21 felony counts, including the 11 felony counts of lewd acts on a child, but Tuesday, prosecutors said that they found more information on the case and adjusted the charges to be more severe. Prosecutors changed 11 other felony counts from lewd acts on a child to now lewd acts on a child under duress. She pled not guilty once again. The court found that there was probable cause, not just the sex acts that occurred, but that they occurred under duress, which makes them forcible sex acts. We argue that this was under a threat of hardship to this child. In other words, if he did not go along, things were going to get tougher for him. So that's what we believe to be duress, said Deputy District Attorney Drew Hart, which is 100% true. The South Bay judge hearing the case ultimately ordered that there was enough evidence to stand trial. The amended charges carry a longer sentence. If convicted on all charges, she will now face 185 years to life in prison, which I pray and hope that she gets every bit of that, instead of the 165 years to life. So whatever extra they can give her, I'm cool with that. Hold on, let me see if I can find that one part. During her December preliminary hearing, prosecutors showed detailed messages that the teacher Ma allegedly sent to the victims, including several that talked about sexual relations. One even asked if one of the victims would want to stay at her house since her husband was out of town. I'm curious as to how the freaking hell would she pull that off, knowing that these children stay with their parents. The parents were supposed to agree to this? Like, what? And she's married. So her husband had no idea that he was having sex with his wife, who's a pedophile. That is freaking disgusting. Hart continued, in cases like this where you have a public figure that has access to children, there's a lot of public confidence that we have in teachers and other people in these positions. So it's important to hold these people accountable. Ma is scheduled to be back inside the courtroom in March for a felony readiness conference. Then a jury trial is set to start in April as of now. And I think what I was going to speak on, because I read in another article, it might not be this one. I could be getting my stories mixed up. But I thought that they said that she was trying to claim that one of the students actually wasn't her student anymore. So it wasn't going to count the same way. But that could be a completely different story. But nonetheless, let me give you guys the fair usage. Let's talk about it. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. You know what I think they need to do? They need to go back, and whoever came in second place for Teacher of the Year, they need to go back and officially award that person Teacher of the Year, since this woman stole it, robbed the people of that. That's what I think they need to do.
The National City school teacher accused of sexual misconduct with a child appeared in court today for the second time this week. CBS 8's Brian White was at the hearing to find out if Jacqueline Ma will be given another chance at bail.
34-year-old Jacqueline Ma makes her way into the courtroom for her second hearing this week.
Good afternoon, all of you. Good afternoon, Ms. Ma.
Her attorney, Mario Vela, urged the court to grant her a pretrial release.
It is simply unnecessary to hold Ms. Ma on a no bail hold. Ms. Ma is prepared to accept any and all conditions that the court may impose.
The prosecutor insisted her no bail status should remain. She's accused of contacting the victim after she was first arrested using a messaging app with a special setting called Vanish Mode. And she's facing him after she was first arrested using a messaging app with a special setting called Vanish Mode. She's accused of contacting the victim after she was first arrested using a messaging app with a special setting called Vanish Mode.
She's dangerous. You hear that? Using Vanish Mode because she's trying to do all of this covertly. She is a danger to all children, especially these children. Hell no, she don't need no damn bail.
And she's facing a witness intimidation charge.
We saw on a device that this minor had access to that this defendant, using a screen name that she previously used, attempted to reach out to this minor.
The defense disputed the accusation, saying she didn't reach out to the former student after posting bail.
I've spoken with Ms. Baugh, and Ms. Baugh irrefutably denies that claim.
The sixth grade teacher was first arrested last week at Lincoln Acres Elementary School on felony charges of sexual misconduct with a child. She bailed out of Las Colinas Women's Detention Facility, but was arrested again days later on additional charges, including possession of child pornography. Deputy District Attorney Drew Hart described what allegedly happened in the classroom between Ma and the then 12-year-old child, what he called a forcible sex act.
When you groom a child for months, when you get him alone in a location that he's been told his whole life is a safe place, that when you persist in sexual advances in that location after he tries to brush you off, that is duress.
After hearing arguments from both sides, the judge ruled to uphold her no bail status.
She's a teacher, a position of trust, a position of authority, and again, she commits this child to engage in sex acts as been presented.
The National School District placed Ma on unpaid leave. According to policy, she cannot be fired unless she's convicted. Her classroom is considered a crime scene and will remain locked until the end of the school year. Brian White, CBS 8.
Thanks, Brian.
I'm Spencer Soysher outside of the South Bay Courthouse in Chula Vista, where a preliminary hearing was held today for former Teacher of the Year and elementary school teacher Jacqueline Ma. All day we've been listening to testimony that the district attorney's office has presented against Ma. She's a Lincoln Acres elementary school teacher charged with sexual misconduct against one of her former students. This morning, Ma began crying in court before the first alleged victim gave testimony. We weren't allowed in the courtroom for that portion of the morning, but later the lead National City detective on the case began reading screenshots of messages she says she found through a warrant on the teacher's phone. The detective said other messages were deleted, but the teacher kept some screenshots of messages with the victim in a hidden folder on her phone. The detective outlined a pattern of how she believes Ma groomed children, showing up to their sports games and giving them gifts as she formed inappropriate sexual relationships with them. The detective read aloud the screenshots in court as Ma's attorney argued the teacher frequently was involved in supporting her students after school.
John Doe 1, I love you, winky face. Jackie, I love you too, like I'm actually in love with you. Yellow heart emoji.
That message exchange supposedly involved a student who is now 13 years old. After Ma was released in March, she was released on bail, arrested in March rather, she was released on bail, but she was arrested again on additional charges after the second alleged victim came forward. Ultimately, the judge ruled that there was, quote, overwhelming evidence in the case and bound her over on amended charges of forcible sex acts as opposed to non-forcible. She's due back in court.
Today, a South Bay Teacher of the Year is headed back to court for several crimes involving former students.
Which are much more serious based on evidence that was presented during her preliminary hearing. The judge decided not only was there enough evidence to send Jacqueline Ma to trial back and elevate those charges, but the judge also felt it was appropriate to elevate those charges. The 34-year-old has been in jail since March of last year. She is accused of having an inappropriate relationship with two former students who were 11 and 12 years old, one of which prosecutors say she had a months-long sexual relationship with. Ma has been behind bars again since March of last year. She had been a teacher with the National School District since 2013, teaching 5th and 6th grade students. She was considered one of San Diego County's top educators at the time of her arrest. Now, during her prelim hearing in December, detailed messages were shown that Ma allegedly sent to the boys, where prosecutors say she talked about sexual relations and even asked one of them if he would want to stay over at her house since her husband was out of town. Not only that, but according to our reporting partners, the San Diego Union Tribune, the judge agreed with the prosecution to bring up much more serious charges forward based on evidence that the children were in duress or felt coerced.
A National City teacher once named teacher
relationships that prosecutors say Jacqueline Ma had with an 11 and 12-year-old boy. The lead detective on the case spent most of the day on the witness stand, and at one point she testified and read out loud text messages found on one of the boys' iPads.
You know what I'm talking about, Miss Ma. Oh my God, do not forget my underwear is in your pocket. John Doe 1, I'm at my grandma's. Is that my underwear is in your pocket. Miss Ma, oh my God, do not forget my underwear is in your pocket. Miss Ma, oh my God, do not forget my underwear is in your pocket. Miss Ma, oh my God, do not forget my underwear is in your pocket.
I truly wonder what the parents think, what the parents thought, how they feel. I would love to hear from the parents, because that has got to boil your blood. Male, female, it's a pedophile. This alleged teacher of the year is a freaking pedophile. That has got to boil your blood if you're a parent. Are you kidding me?
John Doe 1, I'm at my grandma's. Sorry, I was doing some SUM. Miss Ma, that's okay, just making sure you hide it.
Were there other photos from this video?
Messages that were read aloud today were too graphic for television. The young victim, referred to as John Doe 1, also took the witness stand today. The public, the media, was not allowed in the courtroom during his testimony. We know he was 11 when this alleged relationship started, a student at Lincoln Acres Elementary, and prosecutors say the relationship went on for a couple of years. He is 13 years old now, and according to prosecutors, they found evidence on his iPad that indicated they were using an app so she could watch him live as the boy was showering.
Oh, I forgot about that part. You said how much grief does her husband get over this? I bet you a lot. Cause you know what's funny, bro? I bet you don't nobody feel sorry for her husband, and I think they should. Like, how would he know this? How would he know? How would anybody know when she's doing most of this stuff while they're in class? So it's kind of like when a husband and wife, and your husband goes to work, and he says, he's like, well, or she says, what are you doing? And he says, I'm at work. You're just expecting for that person to be at their job, doing what they're supposed to be doing. You're not expecting for them to be doing something illicit. I believe, from what I understand, that this was going on school grounds. I'm curious about something, because I think what they get her for 185 years to life in prison, I think that'll probably be suitable. But it seems like they're pretty tough on people when it comes to like drugs being sold nearby a school. I think that can get you a bundle of years in prison. I think prostitution near a school can get you a bundle of years in prison. So I would absolutely hope that if they're sending her to prison or trying to send her to prison for 185 years to life, I hope that she gets it, because that means that she was probably doing a lot of this stuff on school grounds. She was watching these children shower through an app, man. Freaking nasty. Listen at this.
The prosecutors, they found evidence on his iPad that indicated they were using an app.
Yes, that now becomes child pornography. Thank you. You're actively participating in creating child pornography. I think they should add that in the charges also. So since y'all are actively doing this case, I think if y'all can get that in there, she's got to record it or somehow participated in a digital form, y'all need to add that in there. Child porn. Throw child porn on her too. Think y'all can get that to stick.
app so she could watch him live as the boy was showering. The detective testified about a dozen photos of the child's private parts were found on Ma's phone. Before today's hearing got started, Ma appeared to be upset, wiping her eyes, crying. Most of the time, she took no...
Crying for what? Think she felt bad for those kids? Hell no. So the pictures should count as child porn also.
or kind of kept her head down.
Pedo porn, underage porn, very underage porn.
Now, we also heard testimony from the detective about the second alleged victim. The detective interviewed him at his school. Now, I have to warn you, what you're about to hear is disturbing.
He told me that he was texting with Miss Ma, who was his teacher at the time, and they started to text back and forth about masturbation, and he did not know how to masturbate yet, so she was teaching him how to masturbate. To text back and forth about masturbation, and he did not know how to masturbate yet, so to text back and forth about masturbation, and he did not know how to masturbate yet, so she was teaching him how to masturbate.
And the detective testified that at one point the boy actually went to Ma's classroom after hours. There was some sort of encounter, but that he got so freaked out he ran out of there before there was any physical contact. Now, the judge said in a ruling today that there's an overwhelming amount of evidence that the defendant took advantage of two children. Now, Ma is due back in court next month. Heather.
So again, all of this, or a lot of it, some of it happening on school grounds, and then even when the kids went home. Man, just parents, be more diligent, talk to your kids, go through their phones. I know kids don't like it. I know even my daughter, her mom ain't liked it, but it's really to keep the kids safe. And when your kids become older, like when my daughter gets older, she becomes grown, and later on in life, 30, 40 years later, when she becomes a parent later on in life, way, way later on in life, she'll understand why her mom was so protective and why we were so protective. Just, man, watch your kids, invade their phones, find out what the hell they're doing, who they talking to, get answers, figure it out, keep your kids protected, talk to them, and really just develop a relationship with your kids to where you guys can communicate properly. But this woman needs every bit of that time in prison and some. So whenever she gets a final verdict, we'll update you guys and let you know how many of those years she's going to spend in prison. And I hope she gets every bit of it. Let me know what you guys think about this story, okay? Teacher of the Year. Yeah, right.